We all long for happiness. It's the thing we most dream for.
Hail to the altruistic revolution. Let's go for it.
Now the first exercise is just going to get us ready for the big finale. For those of you who aren't familiar with my work, I am a health journalist. And after I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, I travelled around the world to make a film called The Connection and to write a book called The Whole Health Life. And I interviewed some of the world's leading experts who are using science to demonstrate that there is a connection between our mind, body, and health. And I thought for quite a while about whose work it is that has really changed my life the most. Whose work should I share with you today? And I immediately thought of Jon KabatZinn, whose work in mindfulness really has sparked the blaze of mindfulness that is sweeping around the world at the moment. The mindfulness program that he developed in the late 1970s has now been shown to significantly help people cope with chronic disease, to even enhance our immune system, and to do all kinds of extraordinary things, including shrink the brain's stress centre. And when I learned this, I began meditating and practicing mindfulness in my everyday life, and things really started to change. It was an enormous starting point for me. But then I thought that most of you are probably already a little bit, at least, familiar with the rock star that is JKZ, as I like to call him. And I thought perhaps you might prefer to hear instead about a younger, up-and-coming researcher who I interviewed recently for my podcast. And her name is Sarah Pressman, and she is researching how our emotions can actually physiologically get under our skin to affect our immune system and to influence our health. And whilst I could talk to you for hours about this extraordinary work and what it means for the potential of modern medicine, it occurred to me that some of the greatest lessons I've learned about how to find balance, how to get healthy in this crazy, busy, sometimes mad world of ours, have actually been taught to me by someone without a PhD or a science prize. And so I thought I would share with you lessons that were taught to me by my son Theodore when he was just 3 years old. We call Theodore Dordor because that's the name he used for himself when he was just learning to speak, and that's the nickname that stuck. And so here are 3 lessons in mindfulness taught to me by Shannon Harvey. Lesson number 1, you already have everything you need. Daughter and I were recently talking about the story of Aladdin, and I asked him if he could wish for anything he wants in the world, what would he want? And he struggled to answer the question. So I began prompting him. I said, well, maybe you'd like to go on a holiday, or perhaps you'd like a new train set. And he became quite upset, and he stopped me and said, Mum, I don't want anything. And given that we were just 3 weeks short of Christmas at the time, his statement was no small thing. And in that moment, I was reminded to stop thinking about all the things that I might want someday in the future, because I already have everything I need. Lesson number 2, enjoy the journey. I was recently racing around our house trying to make it sparkle, trying to get it tidy, which is a never-ending job, being the mother of 2 small children. And I picked up a shriveled up flower bud and just tossed it in the bin. And as I did so, it occurred to me that tiny little things that had been found in nature were all through my house. They were in my bathroom, they were on my desk, they were clogging up my washing machine. And I'm talking about little twigs and nuts and leaves and all kinds of things that had been found in nature by Dodo to and from our walks to his kindergarten just down the road. And it occurred to me that so often I'm so caught up trying to get somewhere and trying to achieve something that sometimes I don't take the time to actually notice that there are tiny wonders all around me. Lesson number 3, savour the flavour. Ever since Dodo was little, he has always eaten his toast with the spreaded side facing upside down. And at first I couldn't work out why on earth this was until it occurred to me that all of the flavour touches his taste buds when the toast is eaten facing upside down. All of these years, my mindless eating habits had prevented me from knowing this one spectacular fact of life, that toast tastes better when it's eaten upside down. And so, whilst you're here at this conference, I invite you to soak up all of the wisdom from the extraordinary luminaries who are taking the stage. But as you go back into the real world tomorrow, just remember that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from the most unexpected places. And so, I will remind you that you already have everything you need, that the world is full of tiny wonders when you take the time to enjoy the journey, and that toast tastes better when it's upside down. Thank you.